All right, everyone, get ready because today we are taking a deep dive into the Lightning Network. You guys voted, and this one was a popular request. We're tackling the Bitcoin Lightning Network, scalable off-chain instant payments, and full disclosure, it's a bit of a brain bender even for us, but that's what these deep dives are for, right? We're going to break down this research paper so that by the end of it, you'll be fluent in Lightning Network lingo.
And maybe even be able to explain it to your friends and family.
Exactly. We'll cover what it is, why it matters, and how it could completely change the way we use digital currency.
Wow.
And who knows, it might even revolutionize a few other things while we're at it. So this paper doesn't waste any time. It jumps right into this whole Bitcoin scalability problem. They even do this comparison to Visa, the credit card company. Visa can process something crazy like 47,000 transactions every second. Bitcoin, not so much. We're talking like single digits. Imagine trying to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin when the network is totally jammed. It would be like trying to fit a whole marching band through one of those revolving doors. Total chaos. It would take forever.
And it's not even just about how fast it is. It's the massive amount of data. Like, if everyone suddenly said, that's it, I'm done with credit cards, Bitcoin for everything, the network would basically drown in information.
Okay, so not a pretty picture. But let's be real. Most people aren't using Bitcoin for their everyday purchases yet, right? So why should we even care about these limitations? It seems a little bit like worrying about traffic jams on the moon. Interesting to think about, but not really a problem we deal with, right?
True, but here's the thing. Bitcoin isn't just trying to be a faster way to pay for things. It's going for something much bigger. Decentralization. The idea that we don't have to rely on these big banks or tech companies to manage our money, that's got to be worth striving for, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's like choosing to shop at a local farmer's market where you can actually talk to the people who grow your food instead of being stuck with some massive supermarket chain where everything's, just mass produced. You have more control, more transparency. That's the promise of decentralization for sure.
Exactly. But here's the catch. If we really want Bitcoin to become the global currency it's trying to be, it has to be able to handle a ton of transactions. It needs a way to process millions, even billions of transactions without having to abandon all those core principles it was built on.
And that's where the Lightning Network swoops in to save the day.
Like a superhero.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. Let's talk about how this superhero actually works. So how does the Lightning Network take Bitcoin from slowpoke to super speed? The paper used this idea of a running tab, which I thought was kind of clever.
Yeah, it's a really good way to picture it. Instead of every single Bitcoin transaction being broadcast to the whole network, which is like announcing every purchase you ever make to the world, you can have this private channel with another person that you exchange Bitcoin with a lot.
Okay, so like if I have a favorite coffee shop, I could pay for my latte with Bitcoin without slowing down the whole network for everyone else.
Right. And here's the cool part. You're not even just paying for that one latte. You're opening what's called a micropayment channel. This direct line lets you make a bunch of small transactions back and forth, and these transactions happen off-chain. That means they aren't recorded on that main Bitcoin blockchain.
Off-chain, micropayment channels. Can we rewind a little and explain exactly how these channels work? I'm getting lost in the tech jargon.
Of course. So let's say you and your favorite barista decide to put a small amount of Bitcoin into an account together, like a digital piggy bank. This piggy bank is a special type of wallet, a multi-signature wallet. That means both people have to agree before any of the Bitcoin inside can be spent.
So it's like needing two keys to open up a safe deposit box at the bank.
Yeah, exactly. And that first transaction that opens up the channel in that joint wallet, that one is recorded on the main Bitcoin blockchain. And here's where it gets cool. Every single latte, every muffin, every transaction in that channel after that initial setup happens off-chain. It's like having this own little private payment network between you.
So my coffee addiction isn't being broadcast to the whole world. Fine by me. But okay, what's stopping the barista from just changing the amount of Bitcoin we agreed on in our channel? It still seems like we have to trust each other.
Right. That's where it gets really interesting. The Lightning Network isn't actually built on blind trust. It uses some pretty clever cryptography, so it's more like a system of checks and balances built right into the code. Think of it like this. Each time you make a transaction within that channel, you're basically updating this digital document that outlines how much Bitcoin each person has.
So like a digital receipt that we both have a copy of.
Yeah, exactly.
But couldn't someone just go back to an old receipt and say, nope, this is how much Bitcoin I had?
That's where those cryptographic safeguards I was talking about come in. There are things in place to keep someone from using an outdated version of the digital receipt.
Ooh, okay. So we're going to get into the good stuff now. Like, are we talking digital booby traps?
You could say that. Basically, the system makes sure that cheating is totally impossible and a really bad idea for anyone who tries it.
All right, I am very intrigued. Tell me more about these safeguards. Okay, so we've got these off-chain channels like rocketing micropayments back and forth. But how do we actually prevent someone from pulling a fast one? You mentioned cryptographic safeguards. Are we talking like firewalls, digital detectives? What's going on here?
It's more like a system of incentives. So cheating is not only impossible, it's a terrible idea. Remember those digital receipts we talked about, those channel states? Each one has this built-in security measure called a revocable sequence maturity contract, an RSMC.
Okay, hold on, RSMCs. Yeah. Can we back up a bit? I'm getting flashbacks to like college computer science class. Too much jargon.
Right, sorry. Basically, or an RSMC is like a time delay on each transaction. Let's say you try to cheat by broadcasting an old channel state one where you had more Bitcoin. The RSMC makes sure you can't just claim those funds instantly. There's a delay that's built in, and that gives the other person time to react.
So like a digital standoff, like those old Western movies, two cowboys facing each other in the street.
Exactly. And here's the really cool part. The person who would be losing money in that old, outdated channel state, they have a special cryptographic key. If they see you trying to cheat, they can use that key to claim all the Bitcoin in the channel, all of it.
Whoa. Talk about instant karma. It's like that saying, cheaters never prosper. But in this case, it's more like cheaters lose everything. That's wild.
Yeah, it's a really elegant system. It makes sure everyone stays honest, and it happens automatically, enforced by the code without needing a bank or some central authority to step in.
So it's like a self-enforcing digital contract. No lawyers, no courts, just instant justice served. Way more efficient than our legal system. Yeah. Speaking of contracts, the paper mentions this whole concept of fidelity bond when it talks about the Lightning Network. What's that about?
Oh, it's a really interesting connection. In the real world, a fidelity bond is basically a way to guarantee someone will be honest, like an insurance policy against them breaking their word. And in a way, the Lightning Network achieves something pretty similar.
So both sides have this built-in incentive to play by the rules because the risks are just way too high. No arguments, no finger pointing, it's all taken care of. Okay, I'm convinced about the security, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How does a payment actually move through the Lightning Network? Let's say I want to send some Bitcoin to my friend across the country. Where does it go?
All right, so it doesn't just travel in a straight line. Your payment actually goes on this whole journey. It hops through multiple different channels, like a game of lightning-fast hot potato to reach its destination.
So I'm picturing like a map with all these channels lit up, all these pathways, but how does my Bitcoin know which path to take? And more importantly, how do we make sure it doesn't get lost along the way?
And that is where routing comes in. Routing is one of the most ingenious parts of the Lightning Network. Your payment, it doesn't just magically teleport. It moves between different nodes on the network, each one acting like a relay station. And all these nodes, they're talking to each other constantly, sharing information about balances, fees, all that.
So it's like a decentralized Waze, but for Bitcoin. It finds the fastest, cheapest route.
Exactly. And just like Waze helps you dodge traffic, the Lightning Network can find the most efficient path, even if it's not a straight line.
Okay, but what if one of those relay stations, one of the nodes, is down? Does my Bitcoin end up stuck in digital limbo?
That's the beauty of this system. The Lightning Network is incredibly resilient. If a node goes offline, the payment just gets rerouted to a different path.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure book, but for Bitcoin. Multiple paths, all leading to that same destination.
Exactly. And if, for whatever reason, there are no paths available, your payment can go back to the main Bitcoin blockchain, that original path. It might take a little longer, but it'll get there.
So a backup plan, a safety net, just in case. Love it. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room fees. Pretty much every digital transaction has a fee these days. Is the Lightning Network really as cheap as everyone says it is?
That's one of the best parts. Since you're operating off-chain, all those fees we're used to on the Bitcoin network, practically non-existent. We're talking fractions of a penny, even for tons of transactions.
All right, I'm liking what I'm hearing, but if the fees are so low, what's in it for those nodes, those relay stations? They deserve a cut for all their hard work.
Yeah, they do. They earn a very tiny fee for each transaction they route. Think of it like a micro toll for using that node's little piece of the digital highway. But because those fees are so small and there are so many transactions happening, it all balances out and they can still make money.
So it's a win-win. Faster payments, way lower fees, and the people keeping the network running get rewarded. Everyone's happy.
Exactly. It's a great example of how decentralized systems can be a more efficient and more fair way to exchange value.
I've got to say, this has been incredible. We went from these slow Bitcoin transactions all the way to a future of micropayments, a decentralized internet, and beyond. It's clear that the Lightning Network is so much more than just some technical upgrade. It could fundamentally change how we think about and exchange value. So where do we even go from here?
That's the million-dollar question. The Lightning Network is still pretty new. There are challenges, of course, technical things that still need to be figured out.
Yeah.
And we're only at the very beginning of what it can do.
Yeah.
But the potential, there's no doubt about that.
It feels like we're seeing the early days of the internet all over again, when nobody really knew what the future would hold, but you could feel that something huge was happening.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. The Lightning Network and this whole world of decentralized finance, it's full of possibilities. And it's up to all of us to explore those possibilities, ask those tough questions, and really think about a future where technology can empower people and build a more open financial system.
Absolutely. And listeners, this is just the beginning of the conversation. We've only just scratched the surface of what the Lightning Network can do. So keep learning, keep that curiosity alive. Who knows what amazing things we'll discover together. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of tech, finance, and beyond. See you next time.